It's that time of week again, Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific, and welcome to Steve's Place. Just want to remind everyone we have our conference coming up August 9th to 13th. We have a 30% discount for those who sign up this month. So please get a hold of us during the week, and we'll get you signed up for that. And the hotel rooms are now open. And tonight, we have a lot of things happening. We have a guest, Tim Ventura, who's going to be here to tell us about the um, Alternative Propulsion Conference. I'm sure many of you know Tim for many years. And then we'll follow that up with Jeff Hayes with everything you want to know about turbines, but we're afraid to ask. Yeah. And anyway, welcome aboard, Tim.
Steve, thank you for having me. Thank you. It's an honor to be with you tonight. I've seen Steve's Place. I'm excited. You have a wonderful, growing channel. And I know you're a little bit newer to YouTube. And so it's really exciting to see your audience growing and to see this massive amount of videos that you've been able to put online. So thank you for having me.
Okay, well, do you want to tell us a little bit about your conference coming up?
Yeah, well, so the reason that I'm here tonight actually is I think a lot of the people in your audience may have heard about the APEC conference, right? And that's the Alt Propulsion Conference. I want to urge them to register because we are resurrecting this conference. We were on kind of a hiatus. We're bringing it back. And so if they're able to go to altpropulsion.com, they can register to get an invite to the upcoming June 10th APEC conference. And I'm really excited about that. So we're kicking things off with Gary Stephenson. He is going to be doing a massive UAP update. And then after that, we're going to have David Perez. He's going to be talking about his progress doing research on warp drives. They actually have demonstration results they're going to be discussing, and they're in the process of scaling things up. Then after that, we're going to have lab updates from 4 or 5 different labs. And I'm excited because I'm going to start to have media partner updates from individuals like yourself. So just to update people on what's going on in the community. And then, of course, open discussion, which is something that APEC is famous for. So all of this starts on June 10th at altpropulsion.com.
And we'll be posting updates in our regular weekly emails too. So there'll be plenty of chances to sign up.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I guess I would say from the APEC perspective, I think what's going on in the UAP space, right? I mean, I think a lot of folks have seen Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick talking about Arrow's research on this in Congress. That is driving so much interest and momentum. And really, that's one of the reasons that we wanted to kind of get back into it as soon as possible with the conference. And we've really been working on every single part of this to just take the entire thing to the next level. It's an exciting time. I mean, Steve, you and I have known each other for something like 20 years, right? And when you think about all of the things that were quote unquote impossible that are actually happening, right? I mean, like for instance, 20 years ago, electric cars would never happen. Well, now they're here. And the stuff that Elon Musk is doing in space, same thing, this private space thing, it'll never happen until it does. And so a lot of these scientific things that were called impossible are becoming reality. Well, now, I mean, we've got the UFO thing where, okay, again, UFO cover up, the government will never admit to this, that, or the other thing. Okay, they've admitted to it, So all of this is surging forward and it's really exciting. And I know that this is stuff that you cover. You covered this on Steve's Place. You have been covering this on Tesla Tech for decades. And this is something that we're covering on APEC as well.
Well, we're looking forward to it. And I'd like to remind everyone at this time to smash that thumbs up button. We could really use the assist. And I think, I'm not sure how this works because we're doing a live feed to your audience. And so, but if there's no objection here, I'm going to go ahead and bring Jeff up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let me introduce Jeff Hayes here. Jeff has been a long time Tesla turbine researcher. He's on the board of directors of the International Test Society many, many years ago. 30 years ago. But yeah, So Jeff has a lot of experience in this area, and he's seen a lot of things. So, and without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let Jeff kind of get started here. And there's his new. Is this your new book?
This is the cover of the new book.
And it'll be available, and we'll put a link online there later on this week. Okay.
It's currently available as an ebook, and it's the definitive text of the basics of the Tesla engine. It's 415 pages and encompasses all of the primary work that's available to this date. I mean, almost all of it. It's really something that anybody that's interested in the Tesla turbine has to have on their shelf. It's the definitive work at this point. It started in 1990 with boundary layer breakthrough, and this is evolved into something that's there's nothing else like it out there.
Well, right now I'm gonna kind of back out here and just turn the thing over to you, Jeff, and it's good seeing you, Tim, and we'll catch you later on the flip flop. So, and take it from here.
Well, it's too bad we couldn't have kept Tim in here. Ask him a few questions about UFOs and whatnot. I mean, most of what he's talking about, they've admitted to, is pretty ancient stuff of our own, in my opinion. It's mind blowing what they've had and the history of it, and the history that we've been allowed to know, and then suddenly not allowed to know. But go to our website, go to teslaengine.org, and go to the open secret, and you'll see the history there. It's completely open secret. It's nothing like I'm letting the cat out of the bag. Completely admitted to at this point, although they don't admit it to it, but they do, but they don't. Okay, so, but they do. I mean, anyway, there's the front cover. Next slide. That's the back cover. There's good old Nikola Tesla. And what I've done here is I've given you a little compilation of the book. The book is 415 pages. We've got about 130 pages of this chopped through it, so you get the flavor of it, and you for sure want to get it so you have access to the entire articles. But this will give you a really good taste and flavor for what's inside the text. Next, Steve. And has Tesla's symbol that he stamped on all of his correspondence of any importance. And Tesla would have been really impressed with this book. This would have been one of his numero unos, and it would have been proudly displayed on his shelf and not hidden away in the museum archives. Next. And there's the principle. We're taking, instead of using lifting surfaces, we're just using flat, smooth flat discs stacked together and separated by washers or other means, and the high pressure comes in at the periphery of the turbine and vortexes around and comes out that center hole. So what you essentially have is a tornado in a box. And the amazing thing about it is you can drive that, put a motor on that, and drive those discs, and it will suck in the center and give you high pressure on the outlet, and it will pump things no other pump will pump. It's been declared a quantum leap for pumping. In the 80s, when it was first announced, it was like mind blowing. Nothing could do this. There's still a lot of people that can't believe it does what it does, but it does. Next. And there's a table of contents, and quite extensive. Next. And it goes on, and next. And you could zoom in on the one on the bottom there, Steve. This will tell you what Tesla ran into. I can't read it. Maybe you can, but Tesla's basically saying that this technology is going to scrap all the rest of it. Even back then, it was going to scrap billions. Now it would scrap trillions. So, and it really can upset the apple cart. But it's all here. There you go. And next is Tesla's telling you about how to make your imagination work for you. It's great to have a desire, but how do you get there? How do you make your imagination work for you? That's the first article, and most important, he describes his progression from his beginning to his discovery of the turbine is in this article. Next, and then the premiere announcement to the public in this Tesla's new monarch of machines announced to the public it will just revolutionize everything, completely change everything. An engine of 1,000 horsepower, I mean, fit inside a hatter's box for a hat. They call it an engine in a box, or also called a tornado in a box. It's a vortexing, only one moving part. Next. And latest marvel, yes, there's the article. You'll get the whole thing if you get the book. Next. There's the turbine with the cover off. That's 330 horsepower. So that was back, Tesla fully built a full line of demonstration turbines and demonstrated the whole thing, documented that it's real. That's a big thing, because if you don't document it's real, then it becomes just myth, but everything's documented. Thank goodness. Next. Even build 5,000 horsepower units, implying the turbine on the right, and the brake is a Tesla turbine brake on the left, so that power is dissipated into the unit from the right to the unit on the left with a hydraulic brake, and it's used to measure the horsepower. That's another Tesla device. That's Tesla turbine, Tesla brake. Next. There's a little demonstration turbine that Tesla had on his desk. He could demonstrate the concept. If you drive that stack of discs with the motor, it sucks in the center and exits at the periphery at high pressure. Next. And there's a blower, 10,000 cubic feet per minute, 75 horsepower motor driving it. Next. We got to keep moving. A little 6-inch pump, 40 gallons per minute, 112 horsepower, running at 150% its rating. So it's almost 100% efficiency, a little tiny pump and highest head pressure of any pump of its type. So it's pumping out into this little demonstration vessel, the little reservoir, so you can see the water flow. Next. There's a little 9 3/4 inch turbine, 110 horsepower. Tesla said it could easily develop 1,000, but if you had a bold enough shaft that could take that horsepower. Next. There's a 600 horsepower turbo pump. The turbine's in the back, the pump is in the front. 600 gallons per minute turbo pump. Next. That's the 330 horsepower with the casing on top. It's all described in the book. Next. There's a back-to-back, two of those units back-to-back, so that you can, instead of using the Tesla brake, they use the one turbine fighting the other as a brake with a spring in between. Amazing stuff for back then. Next. Okay. Next. There's Tesla's gasoline turbine. Tesla had a patent for a turbine for a car could run on gasoline. which we're going to see later. It's one of his later patents, recently rediscovered, and it's can be used without compression. It gets done as a pulse jet, but you can read all about it. It's in the book. Next. And next. And the exciting thing about this is it can be used to recover terrestrial energy. In other words, geothermal type energy. And what you can do is suck a vacuum on a boiler and cause a boiling at low temperature. So you can take low temperature terrestrial heat sources at low temperature and boil them and drive the turbine. The turbine is not damaged by any kind of temperature problems. A normal turbine, you have to have strict temperature regulation so that you don't boil inadvertently inside and destroy the blades. With this, there is no blades, so there is no danger, and there is no problem with any type of phase change in the turbine. It's not damaged. And anyway, it's amazing. It's unheard of, completely revolutionary. I mean, a quantum leap, just like they said for the pumps. Next. And this is like going from one cryophore is going from a cold side to a hot side. That's how all refrigeration works. So what you do is you put the turbine, you have a cold side, you have a hot side. And in the pipe between the cold side and the hot side, you put the turbine and generate power. It's that simple. Next. And there he shows another example of a cold and hot side with a generator in between. Next. And that's a great article. It's called Our Future Motive Power. It's like many, many pages long. It's all reproduced there if you get the book. Next. The sea power plant designed by Tesla. He had for not only for land, but also for sea power. Next. Next. And there's one of our members, John Pickard, with one of his turbines, all described in the book. Next. And geothermal solution. The solution is geothermal. At this time, we have 27 times as much power as we need just in Southern California alone. This turbine can be hooked up to what's called salt brine geothermal sources. And in Southern California, there's salt brine geothermal called the Salton Sea, and it's 27 times as much power as we need. And it's like it's the nuclear, it's true nuclear. It's the real nuclear we should be using, but it's nuclear with no waste. I mean, you just sink a shaft down 5,000 feet, and up comes all the pressure you need, but it's full of, can't be recovered to this point economically because it's full of entrained solids. Those solids have to be removed, which destroys the efficiency. Well, this turbine can take the complete flow, total flow of the effluent, and its efficiencies are much higher. It's all documented in this article, which is fully reproduced. A little taste of it here. Next. Next. There I am back in the day. Next. 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 It's all there in the original article. He's even more comprehensive in the book. You get the book, you get the whole thing. Next. And there, geothermal, you see, you have the geothermal wells down on one side, on the left, 5,000 feet, and the other side, you have a re-injection well at a shallower. So there's no effluent. There's nothing up surface. There's nothing. There's no pollution on the upper. You take it up. You drive the turbine, and you re-inject it. And the difference between the two power, because those are bladeless pumps pumping it back, because you have to have bladeless pumps. A conventional pump would be destroyed. But so you have bladeless turbines and bladeless pumps to return it. And the difference between those two power requirements is your output power of your geothermal well. And like I said, there's 27 times as much power as the entire country needs just in Southern California alone. I mean, if we're going to do electric cars, and this is the way they better be powered, this is the only nuclear that makes any sense. It's the way to go. Next. And of course, it can be used as a pump. Here you see it being used as a pump. Next. Here's a little package Tesla called the lighting machine on novel principles. Next. Here's the article that's in the book is reproduced here in full for you if you want to read it. Go next. Here's the little turbine, 8 by 8 by 10, puts out 1 kilowatt. So something like this could be at every house. Next. Next. There it is, all torn apart, disassembled. Anybody could build this in their garage. Next. Next. There's the rotor 6-inch. Next. There's a pump, a commercial pump. It, like I said earlier, it's been commercialized for pumping. This is a pump completely made of resin, plastic, so for an explosive environment. And it's very, very light. It looks very heavy. It's big. It looks like a big, huge pump. You go over, you can easily pick it up with one hand. Next. Yeah, Tesla pumps generating sales in the multi-billions. They have been for decades. Next. Yeah, oil industry has standardized them. All the big players, everyone that's anybody knows about Tesla pumps. And because if you use a conventional pump, it's destroyed in weeks. With a Tesla pump in it, stays in service for years. Next. All kinds of configurations available to pump any kind of anything, from concrete to live goldfish. Next. There you see another resin pump on top and a list of everything that will pump. Quite a machine. One on the bottom is one with the casing cut away so you can see the discs. Next. There's a little fire pump. This is called testimonial of a firefighter, how it blew away the fire department. Of course, they're not allowed to use it, even though it's so superior. Blow the firefighter's mind. Next. Here it pumps wine. It's being used at the Fry Winery, organic biodynamic wine. It's a vortex pump, so it's giving the fluid that's pumped is the vortex energy. The big thing now is the vortex, the fluid. They have special vortex chambers. They vortex the water before they deliver it, or you can even buy little electric vessels that will vortex your water before you drink it. Well, this thing vortexes is the natural vortex, so it vortexes the wine, doesn't damage or shear the wine. And all expensive wines are not pumped because of the damaging and shearing. This one does not damage nor shear, so it has no problems there. So it can do premium wines at mass-produced price, or mass production. Next. Oh, Steve. Steve. Next. Okay. It can be used as a nuclear pump. It's the only pump that can pump boiling water. And this will tell you all about it, how the nuclear industry is not using this pump, even though it's the safest pump that there is. And the oil industry gets it, but the nuclear industry, it's all political. So safety first. There's with the disassembled special N-spec casing built to spec. What a pump. No other pump built like that to my knowledge. Next. And it can be used for air conditioning without using refrigerants. It has such good compression and expansion that it can cool air without a refrigerant, just electric implied. You can read all about it. Next. And it can also be used as an electric propulsion drive for a car. And here you see a block diagram of one configuration and a hybrid configuration with a direct mechanical connection and electric connection using a Tesla clutch or Tesla torque converter. You can read all about that. That's very exciting stuff. Next. Or you can do what's been done by others is hook it up as a high frequency Tesla alternator feeding a Tesla variable electric drive, and then feed the Tesla three-phase motors like on the Tesla cars. But Volvo actually did it. They actually put together an experimental car, and they put a bladed turbine in. It should have been a bladeless, but the entire concept is Tesla's. If they would have put a Tesla turbine in there, it would have been a practical car. As it was, there's just no way you can use a bladed turbine in a car. It just doesn't make sense, safety-wise and expense-wise. You can't do it. The only turbine that makes any sense in a car, and that the only car engine should be the Tesla turbine, because the turbine is really the only engine you want, but it's just too expensive and not safe enough. Tesla engine solves those problems. Next. And Volvo, like I said, did it. So you can read all about it. Next. Electric drive for battleships. Yeah, Tesla had it all planned out on how electric drive should work, and that was all implemented. Like the USS Wisconsin, a lot of electric battleships were built on Tesla's plans. Tesla talks all about it in this original article. Next. And Tesla's can be used for jet engines. Tesla's original concept for jet engine hovercraft, and then later concept using the bladeless turbine for small jet turbines. Never really has received the proper funding to make it happen. Next. Next. And there was some attempts, and they did get prototype bodies built. This was supposed to eventually have a Tesla turbine engine in it. That never happened, but that's how I got into it back in the 80s, and that project is quite exciting to read how that went along, and that's all reproduced next in this article. And you can read all about it and how it almost got used in aircraft. They were talking about disposable engines. These things would be so cheap for aircraft, you wouldn't take it apart and try to fix it. You'd simply scrap it out and get a new one. That's how cheap and reliable and simple it is. Next. And the small, tiny 1-inch turbine there. You can make them of any type of size. Next. That's Tesla's assembly drawings for the 330 horsepower. Next. There's the 330 horsepower with the casing removed and all the discs installed. Next. Diagram of the fluid flow within inside the turbine at low speed and high speed. Next. Assembly drawings for the 110 horsepower turbine. Next. There's 110 horsepower turbine, 9 3/4 inch. There's next. You can go next, Steve. There's Tesla's Long Island transmitter site. You can read all about it. Next. Tesla's dual turbine with the covers installed. Those two 330 horsepower demonstration turbines with the spring in between them, and a unique light measuring device that would reflect light from one shaft to the other and give you a direct horsepower reading off of a light chart, calibrated, and a light beam would reflect off and give you a direct horsepower reading. Very unique. Next. Next. There's another view with the two covers on, but with different steam feeds. So all these original pictures are in the text, and all in one spot. Next. There's a 110 horsepower driving a 50 kilowatt alternator. You can read all about that. All the test results are there. All the certified test results are reproduced in the book. Next. There's another 110 horsepower reversing turbine. You'll see next. There it is with the reversing handle up on top. All the test results for this turbine are also included in the book. Next. And here is the real exciting thing, that the boundary layer turbine test that the California Energy Commission sponsored at the Energy Environmental Research Lab in Grand Forks, North Dakota. They tested the turbine and determined that it could do what no other turbine could do. And it actually completely blew their mind. They were trying to use bladed turbines for biomass combustion, but we can only get about 10% solids of carbon products going through the turbine before the things were destroyed in short order. So we gave them one of ours, the test, and said, go ahead and try to destroy this one. You won't be able to do it. And they were afraid they would, but they couldn't do it. 100% solids. Whole reports reproduced here, plus commentary on what they didn't understand and what they did. Next. And an article on how to use biomass fuels, things they did not understand. Next. From Tesla's original patents. Tesla knew how to do it for sure. Next. And next. And then we have a article from a Russian source on micro turbine. So this is a really nice article. They actually went to the trouble to actually confirm the efficiencies and actually document the efficiencies. And I mean, the thing is not inefficient. It's all here. It's all documented. Next. There you see one of Tesla's turbines on top, one of our drawings on the bottom of the 21-inch turbine, 3-disc turbine. You can see the spacers, all the washers. Next. There's the Tesla hydraulic dynamometer. The Tesla turbine can be used as a brake, so you can put power into the shaft and have a lever arm against the scale, and you can get foot-pounds against RPM and calculate horsepower directly. So these were actually used to test V8 engines. Next. You can see the big V8 feeding into that Tesla brake. So all that power is put into a primary set of discs, which is nested inside a secondary set of discs, just like a bladed torque converter, but there's no blades. So it could absorb all the energy from that V8 and give you a direct horsepower reading. Well, actually, it gave you torque and RPM, and you had to figure it out. There's a alternator being driven by a Tesla turbine. It's amazing what Tesla did. Nobody's done this kind of stuff. Amazing we even have this documentation. Next. And another view of that huge 600-gallon per minute device. Next. There's a hydraulic feedback pump. On the end of the turbines, you could see that there was a feedback pump. It was all hydraulically speed controlled. The nozzle was completely variable and controllable hydraulically, so that it would speed regulate. And this is a speed feedback pump on the back of the turbine. So it was hydraulic feed, closed loop, speed control. This is one of the, obviously one that's been in service. It's a single disc. Next. And there's a turbine that can be either a turbine or a pump. You can pump water up into a reservoir and then reverse it and have the reservoir flow into it as a turbine. So it's a reversible turbine. So you can throw a handle and change it case geometries, and now you go from a pump to a turbine. Next. Another turbo pump. Yeah, it's all in this book, man. Next. And there's John Pickard's guy that got tested by the Energy and Environmental Research Lab before they dirtied it all up. Nice piece of machinery. Next. I want a Tesla's 5,000 horsepower unit with the brake. You can see the turbine is on the left and the brake is on the right. And you have feedback pump sticking out the very, very right. There's a feedback pump. And then there's another feedback pump on the left. You can see that pipe going from the turbine up into the nozzle control. That is another feedback pump for speed control, closed loop speed control. See another two views of it. It's all in the book. Next. Great article about the early days in the Westinghouse shop with Tesla. Next. And Tesla's valvular conduit, like we're talking about earlier, Tesla had a combustion engine without compression chamber. The compression was done with a blocking valve. That's all. You can read all about it here. Next. And that was actually used on the micro scale, and it was actually got out into industry. Next. And article by Tesla. Next. And next. There he is. Next. Again. Then actually, this was actually used as a heart pump. The Tesla turbine is actually used as a heart, and that's reproduced here. Next. Now we can go through these pretty quickly. These are the various turbine patents. Let's go ahead and flip through these, Steve. There's a little tiny heart pump. There's a pump. Go. Yeah, keep going. Turbine. Next. There's the tachometer. I'm sorry, it's the tachometer, but there's a torque converter. There's how the torque converter works. If you look closely, you see there's in the center, there's two sets of discs. There's two ways of doing it. You can nest one set of discs inside the other, or on through the entire surface to the center and support them on the center shaft, or you can go from the periphery and put like slots one into the other. There's two ways of doing it. I like the one on the left myself as a more stout. There's a torque converter without blades being used here as a handheld tachometer, and the patent to show the concept. Next. And there it is. It actually uses a speedometer for an automobile. It was actually put into commercial service by Waltham Watch Company and all the premier high-end vehicles that use the Tesla speedometer, odometer. Next. There's the valvular conduit. Next. Speed indicator using the turbine. Next. And there you see Sonny Entrikin. He's one of the first people to build Teslas, later designed for large diameter runners. There he is putting it together. He built the 48-inch shown here with this turbine, which is next, or this patent rather, which is next. There's the patent that he built. First since Tesla, as far as I'm aware. Next. And there's how to combined cycle recuperation. Tesla was the first to patent combined cycle recuperation, where you take the waste heat from the engine and you make steam, and then you put the steam back into the turbine. Except in combined cycle recuperation, the way we use it today, they have a separate steam turbine. So you have a gas turbine, you make power off the shaft of the gas turbine. They put the waste heat into a steam generator, and they take that steam and put it into a steam turbine and make power. But with the Tesla turbine, it's so robust, you don't have to have a separate steam turbine. You can take and mix the steam turbine with the combustion turbine, everything together in the same turbine, same casing, and it's not going to damage the turbine like it would with a conventional turbine. It can just take it. I mean, it's amazing. Next. There's a vacuum pump. It can be used to generate high amounts of vacuum. Next. There's the patent for vacuum pump. Next. There's a preheater. Tesla had a superheater patent. This is one way you can combust biomass with this superheater arrangement and induction nozzle. So it's perfect for biomass. So next. And you can also stage it. You can have they use the Tesla on the high pressure side. Let's say you have a very, very high pressure. No other turbine can take that kind of pressure except the Tesla, and the other turbine be destroyed except the Superman. And so you put it through him first, let him take it, and then he spits it out to the guy that at a lower pressure, to the guy that can take the lower pressure, which is a bladed type. And so he patented for staging that way. And if it's up to me, I just throw the bladed thing away. Next. And balancing is super important. Tesla makes you have to have these things balanced correctly. And he actually built machinery and patents for balancing. And there's people out there now that are building these things right and balancing them the way they should be balanced. And it's great what's happening, balancing. Next. Tesla had a patent for vertical takeoff using the turbine. It's the only turbine or engine that had enough power. I mean, he developed this engine because of the Wright brothers. He saw what the Wright brothers did. He saw the development and the advancement of the piston internal combustion engine, and he turned his efforts towards engines. And that's when he came up with his engine. So instead of just taking off like a normal Wright brothers would, he said, well, we'll just do it one better. We'll just put the prop vertical and take straight off. We got enough power with this engine. Next. And another view of it. There you see a view of the variable nozzle, different ways of making a nozzle. We actually built that variable nozzle. Let's picture there. Next. And there's Tesla's car. This was like a lost patent. It was never even published. It was called unresolved. But in this patent, Tesla shows how his concept for having a thing in a car. And this is as crude as it gets, but so much superior. The first thing he does is he comes and spits out a bunch of equations showing how much more efficient, mathematically, theoretically, the turbine is against a piston engine. And then he goes on to show how it should be designed and how it will fit and how it works. And using a standard transmission, standard differential. I mean, to make it so it's they said he had a Pierce arrow. Well, he could almost use a Pierce arrow and retrofit the thing the way it looks. I mean, it's not. I mean, the footprint doesn't change, but it was actually going to be done by pulse combustion. Well, he wasn't going to have a compressor stage like a normal bladed turbine would. Although you could do it that way, there's many ways you could do it, but this is the simplest way. You use the valvular conduit and have a pulse combustion chamber so that you have a ventilator on the output shaft. So you're sucking air into the turbine and it sucks it through a carburetor, which atomizes the fluid, and it comes into a chamber, and that has a spark plug or a glow plug, and it ignites that fluid. And as soon as it ignites, it tries to. It only has two ways to go. It can go back out the way it came in, but that's got a valvular conduit on it, so it blocks its way. Or in the other way, it can go through the nozzle and go into the turbine. So it's forced into the turbine and goes through the turbine as a pulse detonation. And when that happens, it forms a vacuum in that chamber. That vacuum sucks in additional fluid through the carburation, through the venturi, and gets droplets in there, which are again detonated. And so you have this pulse combustion, and you can actually control the amount of fuel air mixture to control the amount of detonation, of course, the amount of power and speed, and just like a normal car, and through a normal transmission with gears. And he wasn't, although it could be done a lot nicer with, but simple. And he was going to make it work. I can't see why it wouldn't work. It'd be amazing to see. No funding though. Can you imagine if somebody got behind us and said, "Hey, we're going to make this thing work. We got the patent. You know what the hell?" Next, there's the deal. Next. There's our turbine we built with the variable nozzle. You saw that variable nozzle configuration for the vertical takeoff. Well, Tesla never built that. That was the end of his life. He ran out of funds, never got it built. We actually built that variable nozzle, and it works just exactly as he said. Problem is, we never had enough power to really make that thing work. We always just had it cracked open so small because, open that thing up, it'd be way over 1,000 horsepower. There's no way we had that kind of driving power. But amazing device, amazing engine. It'll just soak power right up and spit it right out the shaft. If you've got the power to convert, it will convert it at high efficiencies. As a pump, it's an amazing pump. It's just super amazing. Next. And there's towards the end of the book here, Tesla's a memorial to Tesla there. His funeral article about that. A snippet of it. Next. And a true energy awareness. I always like to put this kick in here that we don't need nuclear power. The nuclear we need is sitting down there, the geothermal. We got so much more than we need. We could turn all of our cars into little power plants and everybody could be feeding the grid. This thing about getting everybody electric, is ridiculous. Look they're talking about mining all these rare metals. The Tesla turbine can run on half water. Okay, and it doesn't need refined fuel. Right now, half of our fuel is wasted in the refining process. If you simply get rid of refining and burn the crude directly, and the Tesla turbine can do that, then you don't need refining. You don't have to waste half that fuel. Now we've just doubled our fuel supply right there. And then what you can use the Tesla and run it at high efficiency and get over 100 miles per gallon, and then feed the grid on top of it all. The big problem is they say, well, where are you going to get the power for these electric cars? It all comes off the grid. They say, well, we got to clean up our grid to make it. Then the dream will come true. But the grid's not going to be cleaned up. And the thing is, what they want to do with the grid is have the alternatives fail. The wind, the solar, that's all being set up as being a failure. And then they're going to come in with their so-called small nuclear to take up the slack and complete centralized control. That's where it's going. And that's what people like James McCanney has been saying this for years is the plan. Is they're not going to do alternatives, right? And I can tell you there's been absolutely no money for the Tesla to complete the Tesla system. You would think that we're using the Tesla system and Tesla gave us the complete system. You'd think that would be explored and invested in, especially when it's been shown to have such promise by people that have, like our group that have investigated it and shown that this is real. It's not some kind of deception or delusion. It's all real. It's all real physics. And of course, we know the problem is political. So I mean, and then they're going to lead everybody around by the nose and give us small nuclear. And don't be fooled. Anyway, Steve, any comments?
Last slide.
Last slide, right.
So
Anyway, the book has all the complete articles. It's like I say, it's the most comprehensive book out there, and it's got enough. The articles are super friendly to read. I mean, it'll be friendly to anyone. I mean, maybe not some of the patent details, but you don't have to read all those. But it's super friendly. So I encourage everybody to go over to teslaengine.org and go to the join Teva link on the main page. And for $30, you can get the 415-page book in nice high resolution PDF format. And it's like Steve said, it's the culmination of 30 years worth of sifting and winnowing down and giving you the real thing.
Yeah, I find it really disappointing, that all this money goes into these other technologies, and the Tesla ones kind of like get ignored, and it's all sitting there, for the taking.
Well, it's the complete solution. It's a complete solution. So could you imagine if we weren't restricted and we were allowed to actually have the clean technology and actually that would be a priority, is to have things be healthful and technologically correct, not giving us these things that are going to kill us. It's especially the small nuclear thing. My God, just think about that one. Waste that lasts forever, and you can never do anything. You're going to screw somebody tomorrow. I was always taught that as a kid. That nuclear is just the opposite there.
There is one nuclear that might be feasible, and that would be with helium-3. And when that decays, there is no radioactive release.
That may be, but we got the solution bubbling up from under our feet. So my thing is, all these exotic technologies and solutions, if they can't beat the simple Tesla plan, and I haven't seen any yet that can. I mean, maybe Z-Power, but where is that? If we get the Tesla Radiant Energy System, that might compete. But as far as having nuclear scale energy, like they want us to be forced into, well, if they want to have control, then take control and don't kill us, because the nuclear thing is going to kill us if it's not the natural from ground nuclear that they can also control. They already control all the land. That's why nothing's happening there. They own all the prime geothermal land. They got it all locked up. So they should be able to work something out where they can have some kind of control. They do have control over it. They're not letting us have it. But why can't they let us have it at a premium? I'm sure we'll pay it. We're paying all the other premiums.
Well, I'd like to remind everyone, to smash that thumbs up button, if you like what Jeff's saying and what we're putting on here, your thumbs up are important. It gets us attention, and the more attention we get, the more widespread this information is, And I've known Jeff for, more than 30 years, and there's just so much information out there that he's brought out, but it's just like, walking a treadmill, we walk the talk here, and show you all this stuff, and Terry, and Jeff has had a lot of hands-on experience with this stuff on top of it. And we did do an article based on that the sawdust turbine there, that the tested and that, and there's a case in point, you can burn solids with this, and
especially the way it was politically, because the young researcher Keith Schmidt on the project there, he was forming his own company to do this, and then he was blown away. He said, "This is amazing. I just walked in on the ground floor of something. How could I be so fortunate?" And they quickly found out there was going to be no funding, because the only people that are going to fund it is the government, and the government's not going to fund it. So you're at a dead end.
And it's crazy, you know. I mean, these coal companies, you know, complain about, you know, being shut down and everything, but there's a practical application for the Tesla turbine. You use powdered coal, you know, for instance, you know.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, especially you could completely clean it too. I mean, except for CO2, and CO2 isn't bad. The CO2 hoax is amazing. It's like, my God. I mean, from what I've been hearing about CO2, I mean, it's so vital for plant life, and we could use more of it, not less of it.
Well,
And
the problem is we're cutting the trees down, you know, and we're overheating, you know. But you have all that heat stored in the ocean now that they really need to get rid of. And here's your solution right there. You know, a Tesla turbine can use that heat differential and absorb some of that heat and convert into electrical energy. You know.
Well, I wish that Tesla would get their act together, the car company, Tesla Motors, because if they figured out that the thing that's holding them back is they don't have a hybrid. I mean, they're so against having a combustion engine, but here we have the ultimate engine. And if you go onto our main website, teslaengine.org, and click on teslaengine.org, there's a link there to open letter to Elon Musk, okay, where I point out that I met with one of his top engineer, his top head of technology, and JB Strobel, and he had no idea about the Tesla turbine whatsoever. Of course, he's an electrical guy. It's like not a mechanical, so it's like, well, I don't know what Tesla do mechanically, but even people that do know about Tesla don't know much about the Tesla turbine, which is kind of a strange thing.
Well, I don't have much faith in Tesla doing anything, tell you the truth. The car company has. I mean, look at SpaceX, you know, they're still using rockets, you know, and I'm sure that they have better ways of getting up there, you know, except that secret.
If you read that open letter to Elon Musk at teslaengine.org, you will get an earful about that as well, because go to our website and click on the link on our main page, the open secret. I think I mentioned this, and you'll find out what some of what they've been keeping from us. NASA was actually formed as a cover for the electric gravitics program. So that happened in the autumn of 1958, and the whole thing went black at that time. So it was a very deliberate decision made to keep us all in rocketry, even though it had been declared dead just months earlier by the head of White Sands Missile Testing. It's quite a story. It's there, the open secret.
So,
and I got links.
Anyone have any questions out there? We're watching the comments, you know. So if you have any questions, now's your time to ask and get them answered.
Yeah. We like anybody been brainwashed into the nuclear camp? I mean, the big problem is the waste. That's the big thing you have a hard time getting past. And not to mention the mining, all the energy that goes in. You got to put all the energy inputs in too. Just because there's nothing coming out the stack, and there is always radioactive crap coming out the stack.
There's your question.
Oh, what's that?
How do you plan to distribute the motors for sale online, in-store, or through conferences? Well,
Uh, Distribute
the motors.
the motors. Well, the thing is, there's people like Jeremiah Forwerda, myteslapower.com, and he's working on. He's the guy that's doing them to define balance. He listens, man. That guy listens. He got my first book, and he's listened, and he has done tremendous progress, and he's got tremendous respect for Tesla, and he's doing it right, as far as I can see so far. So maybe he's planning to come up with something for available to the public to use in a closed loop system or a hot cold system, some kind of terrestrial heat. So that's what I'd like to see him do.
There's another one. How can I work with you to the death?
To the death?
To the death. Aeon Erican?
How can I work with you to the death? I don't know, that's pretty scary.
Well, maybe help you
Hopefully, how much longer any of us have? The whole thing is this: we're pounding the information out. It's some kind of. It seems like it's you're getting nowhere with it, but we've kept it alive. Otherwise, it would have been just kind of shoved under the carpet. Nobody would even know that it exists. So,
well, I guess we can call it a night, no one has any questions on that. And I want to remind everyone about that conference, that we have coming up. And Jeff will be speaking there. And who knows, we might be able to get a turbine or two. Who knows what will happen at a conference if people come walking through the door with stuff. And so August 9th to 13th, make your plans to be there. And the first step to being there is just planning to be there. Get your mindset right, and we'll see you there. And we'll all have a great time, And do you have any final comments, Jeff?
no, just keep on keeping on, and don't give up on the Tesla hybrid. That's the way to go.
And don't forget to smash that thumbs up. If I like that. I'll see you all later, and we'll see you next week. No, we won't. Next week is Mother's Day, so we'll see you after Mother's Day. And so y'all have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. And that's gonna be a wrap.